So this is Mazda's CX-60. It's their flagship SUV, one of the biggest cars Mazda have ever made, and actually one of the most powerful, because when you have this plug-in hybrid charged combined with the petrol engine, you get almost 340 brake horsepower, which really is probably enough. So the battery range itself will do around 40 kilometers on pure EV, no more than that. Just not going to happen. It's an all-wheel drive vehicle as well, so even with the plug-in hybrid, and I've charged it every single night that I've been driving the car, I can't get it down below 8.5 litres per 100 kilometers. Also, the last time I reviewed the car, it was a very quick half an hour with the car. You can watch that up here if you like. A couple of people commented to say, what is the transition between electric mode and petrol mode, and is that always as smooth as it should be? And I suppose the answer to that question is how much charge do you have in your battery, because when there's a bit there, it's generally quite smooth. But there are times where it needs to kick into the petrol engine and there's a bit of a jolt through the car. So it's not the smoothest of balance between EV mode and petrol hybrid mode at all times. It can be a little bit sudden, and just the best way to describe it is just like a jerk that kind of just shoves you in the back or whatever. It's not always working in perfect harmony, shall we say. So it's almost an 18 kilowatt hour battery that will charge at home on a wall box, depending on your night rate. If you're paying 33 cents, which is the kind of standard-ish, if you don't shop around, you don't have a night rate, that's about €6 to charge for your 40 kilometers. If you can charge the other end of your journey as well, but don't think you're going to do the M50 and back commute type thing every day and only use battery parts. Just not going to happen that way, unfortunately. Because it's all-wheel drive, there is plenty of grip and there's very little body roll, and Mazda have kind of set up, not like their G vectoring, they have that as well, but there's just a really great way of holding down grip in the car, and it just doesn't drive like an SUV typically drives. There's very little body roll. So the trade-off of that sometimes jerkiness transmission between petrol and hybrid is then counterbalanced by a really great handling vehicle that, if you do have charged, is very, very fast. It's got all the practicality, an elastic boot parcel shelf cover, flat floor, heated seats in the rear, and there's plenty of stuff for legs, knees, foot room, everything. The one criticism I do have is, and I've whacked my knee off it about 7 times getting into the car, is the really sharp angles on the air vents. Just watch them, because when you're trying to get up into the vehicle, because it is a little bit off the ground, you will kneecap yourself, as I have done plenty of times. So this Takumi trim, which has got little bits of threading throughout the dashboard, is very bright and it's white. The Soul Red car that I had in the last video was quite dark on the inside. So this is much brighter, with the glass roof, heads-up display, crystal clear graphics, nice physical touch buttons for climate control, and it's a very premium place to be. They're trying to take on the Lexus NX, for example, and you can see how Mazda are doing that. This tops out at €60,000. You don't need to go to that level on the spec on the car, but should you wish, there's plenty of spec on the car if you do get to that level. And I do think you'll sit into it and feel very premium. Now, funnily enough, when you do have it charged and you have a bit of power in the battery in terms of your combination to give you that 300 plus brake horsepower SUV, there's a sport mode, and when you flick that on, all the dials go red, but there's actually a lovely grunt out of the engine of the car. So it really does sound quite sporty. It's not like they've just set up some acoustic thing. There's the proper rasp off the engine. Good visibility all around as well. Really big, huge windscreen. Nice big mirrors. Doors, rear doors open at amazing angles for getting kids and buggies and all that stuff in. So there's a lot of points in this car where I look at it, or I've used it and I've said they've thought of a family when they were designing this. You know, fair play to them, because sometimes things like that are overlooked. I'm thinking of stuff like the Nissan Qashqai, There's quite a few. I think the Kia Sorento now also has that. You might be looking at, you know, that level of vehicles for this, not necessarily the Qashqai, probably the X-Trail, the new incoming X-Trail. There's no 7-seater in this. There's a CX-80 coming as well, which will be bigger again. I just don't. I mean, like, this is quite a large car by European standards. If you're watching this in America, I know a lot of Americans have commented on one of their videos saying, "I wish we were getting this over here." This would be tiny. This would be a dinky compared to what you guys are used to. But for us Europeans, this is quite a large SUV. So look, have a look at that other video. The Soul Red color is absolutely gorgeous. I just wanted to cover the smoothness, or sometimes not smoothness, transmission between the two outputs. Like, there we go, there's a bit of a jerk now where is it in EV, is it in petrol? It's a little bit of a hesitancy, and then it gets going. So test one, see what you think. It's not as prevalent when you do have a bit of charge in the battery, that is for sure. There's always a tiny bit, just to give you a kind of a mild hybrid sort of stance. Stop-start traffic and pulling away in EV mode and stuff like that. So there's always a small bit of battery, even if you have depleted your typical 40-kilometer range or whatever. Certainly, if you're someone who's not quite ready to go the full family vehicle, and like you still want something that looks nice and is a bit of fun to drive, but it will do all the family things, this is one of those cars that falls into that category, that it can do all those things. You'll still be happy. You'll still look back at it when you've parked it up. It'll still look class when it's freshly washed. So those things, if they are just as important to you as how big your boot is and how many passengers and teenagers you can fit in the back row, the CX-60 is definitely one of those cars that you should give serious consideration to. Thank you very much for watching at this second video of the Mazda CX-60. See what you think. I've liked it. My knees, not so much, but I'll get over it. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.